video is brought to you by Letsynthesize Academy, the #1 place for practice-oriented courses for serious music producers.
Yo, there Larsen here, welcome to the newest Synthesize Sunday episode, and today I want to show you an impossible techno percussion sound that you won't be able to make on your own, and it sounds like this in context. And this is the sound that I'm talking about. Like always, you can grab this sound from my Patreon below, but this time only the sound because I made the song for a client. And click here if you want to learn more about music production. But right now, let's jump into it. Alright, so here is the sound once again. And I added other elements that are very similar to the main percussion, but with some changes on the operator, because all these sounds are coming from operator, and you know, some extra delays and stuff like that, and to make the sound really fat and full with the groove. So it was pretty complicated to come up with this sound, but let's start with the first and simplest thing ever, and that is the low part, because this sound contains two layers, as you can see, a top and a bottom layer. Let me deactivate the delay, I don't need that here. And as you can see on the master, there is not too much. I automated this stuff only for the breakdown and the EQ, that's all. Okay, so there are some weird FM, very high frequency FM metallic tone on the sound, but I don't really mind that at the moment. So the low part of the percussion sounds like this. So it's almost like a kick drum. How we make a kick drum? You use a simple and apply a pitch envelope here, and you drop it really fast from a quite high frequency to a quite low frequency, and that's all. Now, what I need to do with this sound to make it a little different, like not a real kick, is the first thing I had to make the tail a lot longer. So a kick drum is like this long, but this is boom, 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 so a lot longer. So obviously the envelope has a long tail, as you can see, it's almost like 2 seconds or 1.5 seconds long. And I had to modulate it with the noise to apply the rumble to it. The other technique is I could have used a reverb, but using this technique, you know, FMing with the noise, looked a lot more convenient. So without that, it's really just a kick with a long tail. So I applied the noise, and that's all basically. The only thing I did here is I applied a low pass. It sounds so bad. So obviously the other thing, I had to automate the envelope, because if I don't do that, I just have a very disgusting sounding rumble, but I wanted to have a kick, so like a little transient or little brightness at the very beginning of the sound. So this is why I had to add some envelope. But obviously this is too much, so I decided to be around 11. And the pitch envelope doesn't give too much to the sound. And then EQ is to chop off the subby part, because I really just wanted to have a mid-bass frequency rumble. So let's see without the EQ. Yeah, so this way it sounds a lot more in the mid-bass range. Okay, so this is it basically. Now the percussion was a lot trickier to figure it out. And you know, I spent like, I don't know, like half a day or even 1 day to figure out how to make a similar sound that the reference was. I honestly don't know where the FM tail, that very high frequency metallic tail, is coming from. I will have to figure it out, but right now it's cool. So let me show you how the full sound, how it sounds without all the effects that are, I would say, really important, because without the effects it sounds like this, but with the effects. So as you can hear, it's very, very heavily affected. But first let's go with the preset. So as you can see, I'm using this chain where operator A is the main envelope and B, C and D FM modulates them separately. And I honestly like this matrix or this chain because what I always do is just use this thing where every operator modulates only each other, so the one below it. But this one is different, and I really like this sound because, you know, you could deal only one operator and you don't need to see the chain, only that you modulate A with either B or either C or either D, so it is a lot easier to see what it does. But basically what you just need to do is start clicking back and forth and see which gives you the best result. So this is what I always do anyway. So operator A is this custom waveform. It's a lot harsher if I don't add these very high frequency harmonics. It's really interesting, and I modulate it with a simple sine wave on really high frequency, and then I start adding lower frequency overtones with another sine wave on 5, of course, and of course detuning them really heavily, and another sine wave on again a quite lower frequency. So this is the FM patch. Operator A is modulated by B and C and D at the same time independently. Which is more important is the filter, because without that it's really just a noise or a sort of FME noise, and with the high resonance I'm focusing more on the mid frequencies, so 1.6K. Let me show it to you. So the resonance helps us a lot. And an LFO, that is not doing anything, looks like. Yeah, so we say some processing. We don't need the LFO. Okay, so then I had to add the pedal to, you know, create a lot more higher overtones, simply because of the bandpass filter. And this brings up so much unwanted frequencies that I don't know where it comes from, but it doesn't really matter now. Again, I wanted to use a chorus to make it a little more organic with the voices, some extra gain before it goes into the redux, for some extra mid-high frequency, noisy kind of destruction. And because the sound was too heavily in the mid frequencies, or at least I wanted to give it a little deeper sound, I used a flanger or a phaser, sorry. And this is very important here, because you don't need to be afraid to shape your sound with heavy EQing. So especially if we're talking about percussion, it's totally fine. With tonal sounds, you need to be more careful. But with percussion and drums, it's just really about being creative and, you know, boosting some frequencies can create the taste of the sound. And I also had to cut because this was just too noisy and too ear bleeding. Alright, and after that a grain delay, and that is really cool. I love this device, by the way. Especially with the spray, it almost sounds like the dimension expander in Serum. It just sounds great, and you can go really creative with this, not only just adding a unique style of delay to your sound, but with tons of other stuff. Anyway, so this is the main percussion, so the percussion and the low end. And I had to use another layer to it. And another one. Like a thunder or something. And all these are basically relies heavily on the effects. So let me show you the thunder. It really just sounds like a metal plate with, you know, hitting it with something with your hand or just bending it. Sounds great. But with the effects, it comes to life. The same with the percussion chaos, as I renamed it. It's the same percussion, by the way, but with some extra delays and some changes here in the operators to make it a little different. Okay, so if you want to grab the sound, check my Patreon and check my academy for awesome start to finish courses. I was Larson. See you guys next time. Peace.